Hey, what's up guys? Glad to have you back. On today's episode of Carrier Chronicles, we will be looking at the history of J.B. Hunt. Now, let's get started. J.B. Hunt Transport Services began as a small carrier of rice hulls from eastern Arkansas across the state to the growing poultry industry in northwest Arkansas in the late 1960s. Founders Johnny Bryan Hunt and Janelle Hunt began the company with 5 trucks and 7 trailers, and lost money in the first few years of business. In 1969, one of Hunt's customers complained about the service he was receiving from the trucking company that hauled his dressed chickens. This customer encouraged Hunt to buy the trucker's 5 tractors, 7 refrigerated trailers, and take over the contract. J.B. Hunt Transport was born. The former driver was now an owner. However, the early years of his trucking business was not profitable. Looking for a way to expand his young trucking company, Hunt tried to gain entrance into the dry goods segment of the industry, obtaining authorization to do so from an Atlanta company in 1971. Unfortunately, at the time, the strict Interstate Commerce Commission regulations imposed heavy costs on those attempting to enter new markets. 7 years later, as his business had been continuing to lose money, Hunt listened to the advice of Paul Bergant, a Chicago lawyer who later became the head of J.B. Hunt's marketing division and chief legal counsel. Bergant convinced Hunt that deregulation was imminent. Hunt followed Bergant's intuition and expanded his operations, purchasing a trucking company that added 24 trucks and ICC licenses covering 33 states to his business. Knowing that in a deregulated environment, the high operating costs of his old line competitors, who relied heavily on expensive services of independent truck owners and operators, would no longer be protected by ICC barriers to competition, he looked for ways to increase the efficiency of his own operation. His strategy was simple: replace privately owned and operated rigs with his own non-union drivers and equipment, lower fuel costs, which generally consume 16% of trucking revenues, by offering monthly incentives to drivers who conserve fuel by driving 55 miles per hour, increase load ratio, the number of miles a truck runs loaded, and decrease driver turnover by offering higher wages and better working conditions. As it turned out, Bergant's prophecy was fulfilled in 1980 with the passage of the Motor Carrier Act. Numerous route and commodity restrictions were lifted, and Hunt was in position to take full advantage. By the close of the following year, he had turned his previous losses into $2 million profit on sales of $30 million. Encouraged by his success, he sold his rice hull business to Eli Lilly for $2.4 million and went public in 1983, selling 11% of his shares at an estimated $18.5 million. While other trucking companies were losing money, J.B. Hunt continued to expand its operation and set revenue records. Just 4 years after going public, the company had grown to become the nation's 3rd largest truckload carrier and the largest publicly held truckload company. As J.B. Hunt Transport traversed through the mid-1980s, having posted yearly profit margins that routinely exceeded 10%, roughly twice that of its larger, unionized competitors such as Consolidated Freightways, Yellow Freight System, and Roadway Services. In the latter part of the decade, J.B. Hunt experienced contracting profit margins and slowed growth. Like its competitors, the company was set back by higher operating costs and declining tariffs in the Middle East, resulting in increased fuel costs. The most significant factor contributing to this decline was the onset of an industry-wide shortage in qualified drivers, which forced J.B. Hunt to keep many of its trucks parked. In an attempt to handle these issues, Hunt constructed a strategy to recruit more drivers and retain them. In 1990, the company increased the wages of its drivers with 3 years of experience, from 25 cents a mile to 28 cents a mile, 3 cents more than its competitors. J.B. Hunt also took the lead in improving the working conditions of its drivers, building 18 terminals equipped with showers, laundry services, and lunchrooms by 1994. In addition to serving as homes away from home, the terminals facilitated slip seating, the practice of letting a tired driver turn over a load to a rested one. Such innovations helped J.B. Hunt's drivers to return home every 2 weeks, while drivers employed by its competitors were getting home an average of once every 3 weeks. In an attempt to attract more new drivers and cut down on accidents, the company also opened up a driving school in 1988, offering its students free tuition and a job guaranteed upon graduation. While such capital expenditures increased operating costs in the short term, they later brought about significant decreases in driver turnover, which was down a record 20% in 1993, and accident costs decreased 30% that year. As the mid-1990s came around, Hunt had no plans to relinquish control of his billion-dollar company, but he began leaving the daily management duties to younger executives, such as Kirk Thompson, who was named the company's president and chief executive officer in 1987. Like his boss, Thompson did not follow the traditional path in gaining a place among the corporate elite. He dropped out of college to work in Hunt's accounting department and completed his accounting degree part-time before being promoted to the top management position. Under Thompson's guidance, the company continued to lead the irregular route trucking industry in developing innovative technology and expanding into new markets. Probably the most important among these developments was J.B. Hunt's refinement of intermodal transportation services, formerly known as piggybacking, since its inception in the mid-1950s. This hybrid form of transportation attempted to combine the cheaper fuel and labor of trains with the faster, more reliable service of trucks. The first major trucking company to cooperate with arch-rival railroads, J.B. Hunt began its intermodal division through a joint venture called Quantum with the Santa Fe Railway in 1989, enabling the trucking company to offer its customers door-to-door service in the California to Midwest area. Since that time, Hunt has built alliances with 8 other railroads throughout North America, maintaining hauling agreements with 47 ramp locations with Burlington Northern, Canadian National, Conrail, Florida East Coast, Norfolk Southern, Santa Fe, Southern Pacific, Union Pacific, and Wisconsin Central. Tom Williams, head of intermodal marketing, in an interview explained, "Now we can walk into a customer and lock in rates for several years because of the stability of the railroad's cost structure. There's so much business out there," Williams noted. "We're limited only by having enough equipment." To that end, Hunt invested heavily in the research and development of new containers that were both attached to the base of a Hunt truck and stacked on a railway car, while having the capacity to carry 1,000 pounds more than average containers. In 1993, 7,500 of these multi-purpose containers were added to the Hunt fleet, and Hunt expected to have added them to the majority of its trucks by 1995. John Larkin, a trucking analyst at Alex Brown & Sons, underscored the significance of these innovations for the rest of the trucking industry, suggesting in Forbes that Hunt may be ready to redefine the industry by forging relationships with railroads and pioneering this new equipment, accounting for roughly 30% of the company's total revenues in 1993, and expected to contribute 1/2 of total revenue by the end of 1995. According to some predictions, intermodal services indeed promised to play a major role in the 1990s. J.B. Hunt's intermodal services most certainly were not the only manifestation of the company's entrepreneurial spirit. In 1990, the company added a flatbed division to its lineup, expanding its customer base to businesses such as Reynolds Metals that wished to ship materials too large for closed vans. 2 years later, after negotiating an agreement with IBM, the company also began installing onboard laptop computers in its fleet, eliminating the countless hours its truckers spent looking for a phone or waiting on hold before contacting a fleet manager to find out about the next load. Tests conducted in 1993 on the new smart communication system known as RoadRider, which linked its drivers via satellite or radio to the company headquarters in Lowell, showed that installation in 2,100 of its trucks, just over 12% of its total fleet, brought about a 60% reduction in the company's long-distance phone bill. Encouraged by the test results, J.B. Hunt and IBM began remarketing the new technology to other trucking companies in 1994. Micromap, a new software program with a compatibility to evaluate more than 90 different assignment factors at a time, further simplified the logistics manager's responsibilities. Since the introduction into the system, the number of miles J.B. Hunt's trucks run empty decreased by 10%, further cutting operating costs while enabling more drivers to return home on time. Just as J.B. Hunt was in position to make the most of the government deregulation of the early 1980s, he prepared the company for the passage of another piece of legislation sure to affect the trucking industry, the North American Free Trade Agreement, which promised to relax trade restrictions between the United States and its neighboring countries of Canada and Mexico. In 1990, after having already acquired the requisite authority to haul freight in Ontario, Quebec, and British Columbia 2 years earlier, Hunt joined forces with Mexican trucking firm Fleet Sotelo to form Hunt de Mexico. The bold move, like many of the companies throughout its history, initially puzzled some investors who were well aware of the uncertainties in terms of quality and on-time delivery commonly associated with such international ventures. J.B. Hunt implemented a plan to silence the critics. Instead of relinquishing control of its trucks at the border, transferring freight to Mexican-owned and Mexican-driven trucks, Hunt de Mexico, like its J.B. Hunt counterparts in the United States, relied on the services of its own drivers, maintaining customs clearance all the way through to final destination. In 1992, Hunt de Mexico improved the efficiency of its operations by signing an agreement with Mexico's largest maritime steamship company. The following year, while J.B. Hunt was finalizing another intermodal agreement in Canada with Canadian National, the country's largest railroad, Congress passed NAFTA, confirming the company's remarkable foresight in matters of international expansion. J.B. Hunt's commitment to intermodal development, technological innovation, and foreign market expansion, as well as its long-held devotion to customer service, allowed the company to surpass the $1 billion mark in sales in 1993, only 10 years after going public. According to the annual report, for that monumental year, its goal for the rest of the decade was no less than to dominate the full-load, containerized transportation business in North America, and to enter and compete in the worldwide distribution business. In the 3 years since its 1990 ranking by Business Month magazine as the nation's 50th fastest growing company, J.B. Hunt Transport Services has watched its operating revenues increase more than 75%. While some analysts have suggested that the high cost of making the transition from a dry van, over-the-road truckload carrier to one offering intermodal and other lines of service may decrease profit margins in the mid-1990s. A 40% rise in net revenue for the third quarter of 1994 suggested that the company will continue to make progress towards achieving its expectations. The colorful J.B. Hunt himself set an even more challenging goal for his company, promising to make 100 of his employees millionaires before his scheduled date of retirement at the age of 75. While such an ambitious statement may not fall within the boundaries of conventional business wisdom, it's accurately reflected the unique entrepreneurial drive behind the bold decisions that brought the company to the top of the irregular route trucking industry. "I've developed a lot of things," Hunt explained to Fortune's Sally Solo. "The reason is that if you went to college and you read the book about everything that's been taught of by man, you go back to the book whenever you have a problem. And when the book stops, you stop. But if you haven't read the book, you don't know where the borders are." With no book to follow, J.B. Hunt led its competition into the 21st century. In 2014, logistics giant J.B. Hunt Transport posted net profits of $374.79 million on revenue of $6.16 billion. The intermodal segment comprises about 60% of the company's total revenue at this time. Transport Topics ranked J.B. Hunt Transport as the number 2 largest logistics company in North America for 2015 based on net revenue. UPS Supply Chain Services ranked number 1, edging out Hunt by a margin of $425 million. In net sales, by roughly $500 million, Hunt ranked above Ryder Supply Chain Solutions and C.H. Robinson Worldwide, number 3 and number 4 respectively. J.B. Hunt also reserved several Tesla electric trucks and added the first ever all-electric box trucks to its fleet. In 2019, the company received the SmartWay Excellence Award from the US EPA for the 10th consecutive year. So, there you have it guys. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Before you leave, like the video, subscribe to our channel, and comment below. Is there a carrier you would like us to cover? We're down to the last couple of days of our February sales, as we have 10% off all in-store purchases, and if you sign up to join the Chrome Club, the discount gets bumped up to 15%. We also have 15% off grill inserts, 15% off stainless visors, $75 off classic style bumpers, 15% off train horns, set of 10 lug nuts, 15% off, and free freight on all Roadworks exhaust products. If you want to stay up to date on the new content coming your way or just discuss all things Chrome, check out the Chrome Corner Wednesdays at noon with our host Dave Coleman. Thanks again guys for watching. I'll see you next time, and remember, if your rig don't shine, you don't know jack.